Hi everyone, this is Zoha Matin, and today I'll be taking over the Accu-Chek page to talk to you about a number of topics related to diabetes, how to manage your blood sugar, as well as tips around Ramadan and what diabetics should be doing. I'm going to give it another few minutes for people to join our live session. Hi everyone, I'm just going to give it a few minutes for everyone to join in before we start. Hi everyone. All right. So I'll begin now. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Zoha Matin. I'm a certified nutritionist with a bachelor's and a master's degree in human nutrition from McGill University. And I have counseled a lot of patients in clinical settings around managing their blood sugars and everything like that. So I'm excited to talk to you guys today. So first, I thought that I would touch on why it's so important for diabetics to really pay attention to their health right now, both mentally and physically during the pandemic. So one of the reasons that it is, the main reason is because while the data has shown that diabetics are just as likely as the rest of us to contract the coronavirus, when they do have the coronavirus, they're much more vulnerable to experiencing serious illness and becoming more sick. And also they would more likely have a prolonged recovery period compared to the rest of us. And the two main reasons for that, firstly, is that diabetics have a compromised immune system, just generally, and secondly, that elevated blood sugars actually dampen the immune system. So when your blood sugars are elevated and you have even temporary hyperglycemia, it dampens the action of the immune system at that time, so it's not able to fight viruses and clear them and all those things. So it's really, really important, especially for diabetics, again, to really pay attention to managing their blood sugars right now. You really want to focus on keeping your blood sugars as stable as possible during the day. Now, there are 4 ways that you can do that. So 4 ways that you can stay more mentally and physically healthier in order to prevent issues from contracting the coronavirus. So number 1 is monitoring your blood sugars regularly at home, self-monitoring regularly. That ensures that your blood sugars are staying more stable. If you see that you're going into hypo or hyperglycemic episodes often, there must be something in your lifestyle that you need to change when it comes to your diet, your exercise, to your medication, to your stress. There could be many things. So just pinpointing that out would be really helpful through the process of self-monitoring your blood sugars. Secondly, it is really important to follow the right diet, to eat a healthy, balanced diet, and focusing on foods that are lower in the glycemic index. So foods that are lower in the glycemic index, the glycemic index is basically a scale that rates foods according to how quickly the food raises your blood sugar levels and causes spikes in your blood sugar levels. So it's important to focus on foods that are lower in the glycemic index. If you'd like to find out more about the glycemic index, definitely go visit www.glycemicindex.com. There are charts there. There's a lot of information on what foods are lower in the glycemic index, and it's important for diabetics to be very aware of this, of what foods they are. Now, having healthy balanced diet on a regular day, it is really important for diabetics to eat foods in the right timings. So making sure that you're eating breakfast, lunch, dinner at certain fixed times, and having planned snacks in between as well, making sure that you're not going for 4 to 6 hours without eating, constantly having a source of food and carbohydrate throughout the day to manage your blood sugars and keep them more stable. That will help to protect your immune system as well, preventing those hyperglycemic episodes. Thirdly, exercise is extremely important. It's really important to have a regular exercise routine in your day for diabetics, because exercise actually helps to naturally lower your blood sugar levels. And it also really helps to elevate your mood and relieve stress. The fourth point around controlling your health mentally is to reduce your stress levels. And it's found that diabetics are 2 to 3 times more likely to suffer from depression at some point or have mental health issues. So it's really important to take extra care right now during the pandemic to do things that you really enjoy, to avoid negative, stressful situations as much as you can. It is really also important, again, if you exercise, that helps your mood. And right now, it is really important that diabetics use technology to stay in touch with their friends and family members, as that can really help to elevate their moods as well. So those are my top points on how to stay mentally and physically more healthy during this pandemic in order to prevent getting the coronavirus and not falling too sick from it. So the second point I would like to touch on today that I get asked a lot is what foods we should be eating to boost our immunity right now during the coronavirus. And this applies for diabetics as well as everyone else. Diet plays a really big role on your immune system and how healthy it is and how well it functions. We need to eat the right foods continuously in our diet in order to make sure that our immune system is working at the most optimum capacity. Now, the research has shown that certain nutrients play a really key role in our immune system. These include vitamins A, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, selenium, and zinc. These are the top nutrients that you need to focus on to boost your immune system. And a few other foods that the research has also shown really help with immunity. Now, I would suggest that you grab a pen and paper and that you jot down the following foods that I will be mentioning that are rich in these nutrients, and add them to your next grocery list, and make sure that you're eating these foods really often in your diet on a weekly basis, okay? So the foods are carrots, spinach, broccoli, vitamin C rich foods like bell peppers, oranges, grapefruits, and lemons, and kiwis. Having eggs, which are high in selenium, are good. Shellfish like prawns contain zinc. Having cod liver oil, having milk products like yogurt and milk, having almonds and walnuts, really important. And research has also shown a few other nutrients a few other foods that have really shown to benefit your immune system. So those include garlic, onions, mushrooms, and turmeric, which is our haldi, our spice. So those foods are also really good for boosting your immune system. So I hope you guys really pay attention to including these healthy foods in your healthy balanced diet in order to boost your immune system. Now, the next question that I get asked a lot is whether diabetics should avoid certain fruits in their diet, whether fruits are good for them, are they high in sugar, what's the story around fruit. So fruit does have natural sugars in it, they do contain carbs, and the natural sugar that's found in fruits is fructose. That does elevate your blood sugar levels, but at the same time, fruits are so high in vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals. And phytochemicals are basically plant-based compounds that are really, really good for our health. They boost our overall health as well as preventing stroke and heart disease and cancer. So it's really important that diabetics do include fruit in their everyday diet in 2 to 3 servings maximum per day. So not exceeding 2 to 3 servings a day. Now, one serving size of fruit contains around 15 grams of carbohydrates, and it depends, and all fruits are on the table. All fruit is fine to consume, but the quantity matters. So 15 grams of carbohydrate is found in different amounts of fruits, and I'll be now outlining what one serving of fruit looks like. So one serving of fruit is either one medium-sized apple, a pear, or an orange, one small banana, 2 small pieces of fruit like guava or plums or apricots or kiwis that are a little bit smaller, so 2 of them is one serving, a cup of melons or papaya, a cup of berries, about 15 grapes or cherries, 10 lychees, half a mango is one, half a pomegranate, and 3/4 cups of pineapple. So I've basically just outlined how much one serving of fruit is, about 15 grams of carbohydrate that should be taken at one time. And to basically not overdo it in fruit sugars, and that could cause a hyperglycemia or high blood sugars if you're having too much fruit at one time. But in this quantity, the fruit is fine. I also wanted to mention fruit juice. Now, you should be having fresh fruit juice if you're having it without any added sugars. Please read the labels or freshly squeeze your juice at home. One serving size of fruit juice is only half a cup. So please be mindful of that. There's 15 grams of carbohydrate in half a cup of juice. So it's really easy to overdo that juice. So please be mindful. And it's always better to eat the whole fruit versus having fruit juice, because the whole fruit contains fiber, and fiber is really, really important in managing our blood sugar levels. Fruits are also really good for us, the whole fruit, because they contain a lot of fiber. Fiber helps to regulate our blood sugars throughout the day. It helps to prevent any blood sugar spikes, and fiber is also really important for diabetics to focus on because it keeps us full and helps us manage our weight and prevents any weight gain. And it's very, very important for diabetics to make sure that they are in a healthy weight range and a healthy BMI range. And that would conclude my talk on what fruits diabetics should eat and in what quantity. So now I will outline my top tips that people with diabetes should follow when they are fasting. So firstly, I'd just like to say that if people have very poorly controlled diabetes, if you suffer from type 1 diabetes, or you have diabetes that have a lot of other medical complications attached, so if you have chronic kidney disease with diabetes and things like that, it is so important to consult your doctor before fasting, before Ramadan, so that they can do an assessment and really guide you towards whether it is safe for you to fast this month, and if they need to change any medications, any dosages, and inform you about what timings you should be eating or you should be taking your medications. So it's really important to have that chat with your doctor, and if you do choose to fast, you need to be prepared and do it in a really safe way. So during a fast, it is very, very important to monitor your blood sugar levels more regularly than you normally would on a regular day. So whether you have type 1 or type 2 diabetes, just monitoring a little bit more regularly throughout the day to make sure that you're not falling into hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia. So if your blood sugar levels drop below 70 milligrams per deciliter, or if your blood sugars go above 300 milligrams per deciliter, it is required that you break your fast, or else it could be really dangerous for you. And it is also really important to be aware that taking your blood sugars during your roza and injecting insulin does not break your fast. So you're absolutely able to do that. Now, daily exercise is also recommended during, the everyday lifestyle of a diabetic as well as in Ramadan. But during the fasting period of the day, so when you are in the fast, it's not recommended to do any strenuous physical activity. During the fast, you can continue your activities of everyday living. You can do some light exercise. The light exercise is recommended not just before iftar, maybe earlier on the day if you're doing anything light, but your proper exercise routine, proper exercise, strenuous exercise should be after your iftar meal, when you have replenished your body with some glycogen, replenish your glycogen store with proper food. Now, also remember, for people who are planning, their exercise, and just be mindful that your Taraweeh prayers also count as exercise. It's quite physically exerting, so count that in your daily exercise. The third tip around Ramadan and what diabetics should do is that you really need to focus on plenty of water. It is hot, we're in the summer months, dehydration is really dangerous to diabetics, so please focus on having 10 glasses of water between iftar to sehri, at least 10 glasses of water. Water is the best. Don't go for sharbats and sweetened drinks, and avoid juices when you can. Water is really the best. If you want to flavor your water, you can add lemon slices, you can add cucumber, you can add mint, and they're good. You can even have some herbal tea, caffeine free, if you want something different that still hydrates you. But it is really important to avoid caffeine in Ramadan. Any caffeinated beverages, which include chai, coffee, soft drinks, even diet drinks have caffeine, or any energy drinks. These drinks have caffeine, and the caffeine is a diuretic, which makes you go to the bathroom more, you urinate, and then your body has lost that water more easily, and that can lead to dehydration during your fast. So avoid caffeine as much as you can, really cut down. Avoid it especially during sehri time, and maybe have it after iftar if you are having that 1 cup of tea or coffee and you cannot leave it. The second last point, so it is really important for diabetics not to skip sehri. Make sure that you're eating right till the end when it's dawn and it's time for the Fajr prayer. Do not eat really far ahead. Make sure that you're having your sehri. Don't skip it, so that you're not going too low in blood sugar during your fast. And it's important to not have 1 or 2 meals, but try to have in Ramadan and your Roza a sehri, iftar, maybe another meal, 1 to 2 snacks. So smaller meals versus really large meals. And we want to make sure that during that entire iftar to sehri time, that we're really evenly distributing our calories and our carbohydrates to ensure more regular blood sugars. So it's important that also to avoid sugary foods in Ramadan. So Ramadan is known to have a lot of sweets and sharbats and mithai and sweet things. So please avoid those during your iftar meals. That's the time that most people are most likely to have them. If you are having any sweet treats, please keep them in a really, really small quantity. If you are having certain, let's say, desserts once in a while, you can sweeten with stevia or an artificial sweetener instead, to lower that sugar content. And have fruits when you are having a sugar craving. They're so much better for you. Avoiding fried and fatty foods is really important. So deep fried foods, greasy, oily foods, those foods that have a lot of butter in them, like puff pastries and those patties and those kind of things, are really not good for diabetics. So try to avoid those as much as possible. If you are still craving samosas and pakoras, you can always bake them. So using little oil, you can bake some of your favorite things and have them once in a while. And make sure that in all your cooking in Ramadan, you're just using very little oil. You're sauteing, grilling, baking, steaming your food, using less just using overall less oil in your foods, and using olive oil, which is a heart healthy fat. So definitely avoiding too much fatty food, and having too much salt in your diet is also not good during Ramzan for diabetics. So make sure all the foods that you are consuming, you are cooking with very little salt. Overall, your salt, the salt amount in your food should be less. Try to flavor with herbs and spices instead, and avoid having sausages and जो ready-made meats होते हैं, जो processed वाले होते हैं, hot dogs and things like that. Those kebabs that are frozen and you get ready-made, they're actually very high in salt content. So try to avoid those during your Ramzan this year. So now I would like to move on to talk about my top recommendations on what foods you should be including in your diet in Ramzan, what foods you should have in Sehri, what foods you should have in Iftar, and any snacks afterwards, and basically the art of eating in Ramzan that is really suitable to diabetics. So I'd like to begin by starting off that in Ramzan, a lot of people don't focus on getting enough protein and enough fiber in their diet. Fiber is really important for managing your blood sugar levels, so having a lot of soluble, good fiber, especially during your Sehri meal, is going to really benefit you. And focusing on foods that are lower in the glycemic index is really important. So low GI foods, reducing your overall glycemic load. If you'd like to know more about the glycemic index, please visit www.glycemicindex.com. It's a really useful thing for all diabetics to know. So please become familiar with what foods are high glycemic index that you need to avoid, and what foods are low glycemic index that you should be having more in your diet. Usually lower glycemic index foods are just foods that have more fiber content, they're less processed, so brown rice, brown bread, those kind of things, versus high glycemic index foods are white flour, white bread, that you should be avoiding and going more towards the more natural, unprocessed, high fiber foods. So now I'll be talking about what foods are best to include in your Sehri if you are diabetic. So again, really important to focus on both fiber and protein at this time. One really good Sehri option is to have a bowl of porridge cooked in low-fat milk. You add some fruits to it. You can add 1 serving of fruit. I've mentioned what 1 serving of fruit is earlier on in the video. So 1 serving of fruit, you can add crushed nuts to it, so walnuts and almonds. You can add chia and flax seeds to your oatmeal. So this makes it a really good, balanced, filling meal. Another option is to have eggs. So you can have a 2-egg omelette with lots and lots of vegetables in it. You can have it with whole wheat bread or whole wheat roti, again high fiber filling foods, and on this side you can have some fruit or a glass of milk. Another option for Sehri is to have a peanut butter sandwich or an avocado sandwich. So 2 slices of whole wheat bread, spread a generous amount of peanut butter on top. You can sprinkle some chia or flax seeds on that and pair it with a banana and a cup of milk. That's one. You can also have a sandwich with avocado on it. So 2 slices of whole wheat bread, avocado, and then a serving of fruit with some milk. You can also have a dal, some sabzi, and a whole wheat roti with a glass of milk, making sure that the foods that you are consuming during Sehri are not too salty and not too spicy. And you can also have yogurt in your Sehri. So low-fat yogurt, you can add some fruits and some nuts to it, add chia and flax seeds, makes a really good light Sehri. Yogurt is actually really good in Sehri because it helps to reduce thirst later on in the day. So have good yogurt, really high in protein, calcium, and vitamin D. And the last point is to really try to avoid having chai or coffee during Sehri. It's a diuretic, so it will cause you to lose water from your body, urinate fast, and then you're just more at risk of having dehydration later in the day as you've lost that water. So try to avoid it. Having herbal teas instead can be another option. So now moving on to breaking our fast and iftar. So it is really, really important to break your fast slowly and eat slowly and mindfully. So when you break your fast, this is especially good for people who have diabetes. Have 1 to 3 dates or a serving of fruit with a glass of milk, and then go toward your iftar prayers, and then return to the dining table after about 20 minutes, and then start your bigger balanced plate or your proper evening meal or iftar meal. It's really important to introduce a smaller kind of appetizer first before going on to your main meal, because you want to think of your stomach like a car engine. So when the car engine has been turned off for a really long time and you're starting it up again, you need to warm that car up first before going into full gear, or else it's going to harm your car. So your stomach is the same way. You need to start slow. When your stomach has been switched off the entire day, you need to start slow before completely loading a lot of food, a lot of carbs into your system, as your body can go into shock. You can experience stomach aches and bloating and a bunch of other issues, acid reflux, all that. So really important to have that smaller, slow, small iftar snack first, and then moving on to the bigger plate. So now moving on to the bigger plate that you should be including. A healthy balanced meal containing carbs, proteins, and fats, very important. Always have half of your plate be vegetables. It'll help to maintain your weight, meet your vegetable intakes in Ramadan, and salads can be really great because they contain natural good water content. So lettuce, cucumber, tomatoes are already high in water content, and they can help hydrate you. So eating those hydrating foods is a good idea, and in summer salads are good. So having salads, having a source of protein, so it can be chicken, it can be fish, it can be prawns, it can be tofu. These are all lean proteins that are better for heart health than red meat. Try to avoid having a lot of red meat in your diet in Ramadan, and otherwise, if you're diabetic, no more than 2 servings of red meat every week, and even less if your doctor says so. So the meat portion that I mentioned, the protein, should be 75 to 100 grams of that lean protein, chicken, fish, prawns, or tofu. And make sure that you're cooking it using very little oil. It can be in a salan form, sauteed with little oil, or you can bake or steam it or grill your protein. That's very healthy. Along with that, you should be having 1/2 to 3/4 cup of chole, dal, or beans. Chole are really, a part of our regular Ramadan diet. They're really high in fiber and plant-based protein, really good for you. So keeping to that serving size is good in your iftar meal. After that, you should be having about 1 roti or 1 cup of brown rice for the balanced meal, and having perhaps a small serving of fruit on the side, or a little bit of yogurt would be good as well. So that concludes the balanced plate model. So that, once you've had that substantial meal, you're now ready to go offer your Tarawih prayers or exercise a bit. Your body's replenished, and by having that healthy balanced plate, you have avoided having a lot of fried foods or very sugary foods. Try to avoid those and have a healthy balanced plate instead. It really helps to manage your blood sugar levels throughout the evening until the next day. And other options for that evening meal include soups. Soups are very hydrating. You can have a lot of vegetables in the soup. You can have a protein source in the soup, makes it a healthy meal. And also having a large salad with quinoa, nuts, seeds, low-fat dressing, olive oil as dressing, and a protein. That's also a really healthy option for your iftar meal. And after you have had that iftar meal and you have moved forward to your Tarawih prayers, your Isha prayers, and maybe some exercise, before going to bed, if you live in a time zone where you have the time, you're feeling a little bit hungry and you want a snack before bed, a really good snack to have would be a handful of nuts with a serving of fruit, or a glass of milk, or maybe a cup of yogurt with some fruit. That's a really good snack that will keep your blood sugar steady in the evening while you sleep until you wake up for your sehri meal. It's very important not to have a very large meal after Tarawih right before you go to bed, because that will prevent you from eating a proper sehri meal. You might be too full. So it's important again to have a really good sehri meal, and by having a light snack before you sleep, that would ensure that that is possible. So that concludes my tips on what foods that you should include in your diet if you're a diabetic during Ramadan. So lastly, I received the question of what snacks are good for diabetics to have in your everyday life. So it's a good idea to pair things that are high in carbs, like high carb foods, with something that contains fats and protein. That combination is really good, lowers the glycemic load, helps to manage your blood sugar levels better. So I'll give you some examples. So one really good snack is to have a boiled egg with a serving of fruit. That's a good pairing. You can have carrot sticks or cucumber sticks or celery with some hummus dip. You can have peanut butter on whole wheat bread. You can have some homemade popcorn. So using a third cup of popcorn kernels with 1 tablespoon of olive oil, you pop your own popcorn at home. So that is a good snack for diabetics. You can also have a smoothie, so fruit and yogurt blended together in a blender. It's really great, so yogurt with a little bit of granola in it, maybe add a little bit of fruit. Having a cup of milk with a serving of fruit. So these combinations are actually really good to have together. Nuts are also a really, really great snack if you have diabetes. So having these snacks would be quite beneficial. And the same snacks actually also apply to kids. So for kids to avoid unhealthy junk food, it's important that they have healthy snacks. Fruits, milk, yogurt, boiled eggs, carrot sticks with hummus, peanut butter on toast with some honey. Kids quite like those snacks, and then the homemade popcorn as well are good snacks for children. And pita bread with some hummus as well, kids like that. Even cheese on toast, so cottage cheese is a really good snack that kids can have that is high in protein. And now I will be going to some of your questions before I sign off for the session today and answer 1 or 2 of them since we have a little time. So someone's asking about the diet plan to manage diabetes. It really depends on the individual and their goals. So if a person who has diabetes is trying to maintain their weight, their calories and their carbs and everything is going to look different than someone who is trying to lose weight. So it's not a one size fits all when it comes to someone who has diabetes. You really need individualized plans and a talk with your dietitian and doctor so they can really help you divide up your carbohydrates evenly throughout the day, which helps to manage your blood sugars a lot better. So the amount of carbohydrates a person needs, one person will really vary according to their age, to their height, their activity level, and their gender. So then according to their body size, they get a specific number of carbs in the day. Let's say it's 200 grams of carbs every day, and they have to divide those up evenly throughout the day, and a dietitian can really help you plan your diet according to that. So it's to answer your question, it's not a one size fits all. It really depends on the individual. So for sugar cravings, you can make some homemade healthy desserts using stevia or artificial sweetener, and fruits are really your best go-to when it comes to sugar cravings. So someone has asked if eating too much honey can lead to diabetes. So diabetes is not caused by eating too much sugar. It's really linked to your overall lifestyle and your genetics, whether you get diabetes or not. But once you do have diabetes, you have to be really careful about your overall intake of carbs and sugar. And honey also contains carbs and it's a simple sugar just like white sugar. So it really needs to be controlled in your diet. You can have it sometimes, but you need to treat it as if it's a simple sugar like table sugar. What multivitamin tablet is usually recommended for diabetics? So the same as for everyone else. It's the same, any good multivitamin. Okay, so one question was, what are the mistakes that diabetics do during Ramzan? A lot of people skip sehri. They don't want to wake up in sehri, and that is a big no-no. It is really important to have your sehri if you are diabetic. And loading up on too much high carb foods without having a balanced plate model. So it's very important to reduce your glycemic load, to have a balanced meal. So whatever carbohydrate rich foods you're having, you need to pair it with healthy proteins and fats to manage your blood sugar levels. And I think that concludes our talk for today. Thank you everyone who tuned in to our session today. You can find this video on the Accu-Chek page permanently if you need to come refer back to it. And thank you so much for tuning in. This is Zoha Matin signing off. Take care and have a beautiful Ramzan.